So yes, as you can see, kind of Manish is not on the call here. So if you go to the next slide on, so the way I kind of set it up when we talk about this partnership that we have is if you do a little, so this was a bit of a published survey from, so Gartner IDC actually did a survey sometime last year, and what they found was 98, and this is a interesting figure, 98% of Fortune 500 enterprises today use more than two cloud providers, right? In fact, that number is even kind of more interesting. It goes to something like 60 odd percent where customers have more than two cloud providers, right? So 98% more than one cloud, more than 60% have more than two clouds. And so why do customers end up using more than one cloud overall? And we sort of, Renee and Steve talked about overall, kind of the promise of the cloud, the whole, aspect around migrating and then modernizing and taking advantage of the cloud benefits overall, right? And so in spite of that, kind of customers do end up needing more than one cloud, right? And there are multiple reasons. Typically, it could be anywhere from hey, I need a specific technology or access to a specific technology or specific service, right? It could be a particular cloud that I need is not in the region that I'm looking for. It could also be I have a mission critical app and I want to really maximize my high availability disaster recovery sort of RTO, RPO solutions, right? And so I want the application to be in more than one cloud. It could also be because of certain existing investments that customers have made, right? It could be everything from licensing investments that you have to skill sets that you already have. So multiple reasons why customers need more than one cloud provider today. And so the whole idea between Microsoft Azure and Oracle Cloud started back in the end of 2018, early part of 2019 was, okay, if customers do need more than two clouds or more than one cloud, how do we make it easier for customers to kind of, to infer that if you do need more than one cloud, it should be then Microsoft Azure and Oracle Cloud, right? And so how do we reduce some of the friction that customers today have to operate across the two clouds? And that has been kind of a vision here overall. And so back in 2019, we started with something called the interconnect, right? Where we attached our two clouds together in specific geographies in 12 regions across the world, actually. And we have about 200 customers in North America that are using kind of the interconnect in that capacity, right? Where they are running workloads in Microsoft Azure and running workloads in Oracle Cloud. But a lot of the hot, warm, cold data sort of moves over that private bridge that we have. We have also enabled customers to do identity federation with a single click, right? Of course, identity federation is kind of, I'll say, standard protocol, if you will. But the whole idea is how do we make it so that customers don't have to code at all, right? Or don't have to maintain any integrations. And so we did some of that work in 2019, if you will. And what we did in 2023 or end of 2023 is this Oracle database at Azure, right? So this is, let's say, the latest feature, if you will, or a latest solution or a latest offering as part of our partnership between Azure and Oracle Cloud. And so in a nutshell, what Oracle database at Azure does is with the interconnect, for example, customers were able to, let's say, spin up their Oracle database in OCI and then attach that to an application stack in Azure, right? But with Oracle database at Azure, we have sort of moved the database now physically closer to the Azure compute, if you will. So with this, the offer starts with, or the first kind of database offering within this is the Exadata cloud service. And so in this case, the Exadata box physically resides into the Azure data center, right? And so in this case, the first region where we are live is Azure US East, right? And so now that the Exadata is inside of the Azure data center, you can kind of imagine you are going to get almost inter-AZ type of latencies between your application stack and your Oracle database, right? So that is a big advantage, right? Overall, your now data is much closer to your application stack. if you will. And another way to look at it is your data is now inside of Azure, right? And so if Azure is your preferred cloud, this actually makes it that much compelling for you to think about running, let's say, your Oracle estate on a PaaS service that is supported or completely certified by Oracle, right? The other big advantage with Oracle Database at Azure is customers are able to use what we call as their Azure commitment, right? Or in other words, their Azure credits, right? That is the big advantage here. So customers don't have to, let's say, I've already made a commitment for Azure for multiple years. You're basically going to be able to tap into that pool of funds, and you don't need to go make another separate commitment towards Oracle Cloud, if you will, right? So that's two big advantages with Oracle Database at Azure. As I said, so what do you get with Oracle Database at Azure, right? So on the left, as I said, you are really getting Oracle's managed Exadata cloud service that is now inside of Azure. Customers are going to get full feature and pricing parity with OCI. What I mean is, imagine if you were going to run your Exadata in Oracle Cloud, whatever kind of features and pricing that you would get if you do that, you would get with Oracle Database at Azure, right? So we have a commitment for both feature and price parity overall. The overall, it's an integrated experience within Azure, meaning the way you do this is you basically procure or stand up an Oracle Exadata through the Azure Marketplace. All of the and we have a couple of slides here, but all of the metrics, and I'm assuming here kind of folks on the call are aware of what Oracle Exadata here is, right? Otherwise, we can kind of spend some time there. As a quick 10-second, I mean, Oracle Exadata is basically engineered hardware, specifically engineered to be able to run Oracle database at a much higher throughput, at a much higher capacity, right? It includes concepts like rack and high availability and so forth, right? But going back, so you're basically going to get the full benefit of an Exadata machine, but now, as I keep saying, kind of inside of Azure. And so how does it work? So this works through the private marketplace process in Azure. And so anybody on the call who's somewhat familiar with the private marketplace, it typically starts, or it has to start with let's say, a contract, so to speak, with the partner, right? So in this case, you will basically transact with Oracle. You will work with your Oracle sales or account teams here. But then we make this as a joint engagement with Microsoft all the time, right? And so the way this works is you would basically transact through the Azure Marketplace. You would deploy the Exadata through the Azure portal or through the Azure experience itself. And then, of course, all of the Exadata metrics are also available inside of Azure. Now, there are some parts for which customers need to do a bit of a swivel chair and go into the OCI, let's say, OCI console, but that's mainly for the database management, right? And even within that, if customers use something like OEM today for database management, or if you use your own, let's say, third-party tools for Oracle database management, you're free to or continue to do that, right? Because kind of it's the same API interface overall here. So this is really trying to say, okay, the biggest advantage that now customers have is there are, let's say, customers today that run Oracle databases in what we call as Azure IaaS, right? And again, customers are free to do that, or are free to continue to do that, and we will continue to support those configurations as well. But with this, now customers don't have to kind of pick and choose, right? So at times what has happened is customers have Exadata on-prem, but when they move the application stack to the cloud, they have to leave the Exadata back on-prem and kind of move just the databases and host them into infrastructure on Azure. And so now you have the option to take your Exadata into Azure as well. So really the kind of take advantage of best of both worlds, so to speak, right? I think we covered some of these points earlier. I think one or two points that I would definitely, I won't read the whole slide here, but really, as I keep going back, kind of this is your way to really get managed Oracle database services but deployed them inside of Azure, right? Is how I would, another way to put it. One big advantage here is kind of think about the very last point there on the rightmost column there. It talks about get Oracle support reward. So again, if folks who are familiar with how, let's say, some of the benefits that customers get when they move Oracle estate to Oracle Cloud, one of the benefits they get is Oracle support reward. So very quickly, what that is if customers are, let's say, paying Oracle license support dollars today, if you move the same licensing or if you start using Oracle Cloud, we actually, customers get anywhere from 25% to 33% kind of support rewards, right? So if you spend $100 in Oracle Cloud, you basically get a rebate of sorts, anywhere from $25 to $33 off of your Oracle support cost. And so that benefit, we have sort of extended it for Oracle database at Azure customers as well. So if you, let's say, again, take as an example, if you spend $100 worth of Oracle database at Azure service, you basically offset your Oracle support cost by anywhere from $25 to $33, right? And so that is, again, a big advantage. So which, again, you kind of customers don't get if you were, let's say, running Oracle databases in Azure IaaS, for example, right? So this is, again, a difference. Instead of running on Azure IaaS, you have the option to now consolidate on an Exadata instance and then get support rewards as well. Um, um, all right, so one quick thing, and then so how does this, again, in some sense, how does this work is the Exadata, now we are already live in Azure US East. Azure US East, as folks might know, has 3 availability zones. And so the Exadata service is available in 2 availability zones already today, right? So customers are able to do, let's say, something similar to an HA, or in some small sliver of customers could be even a DR strategy across AZs, right? We of course support zonal deployments within Azure, or Azure supports zonal deployments, so does OCI, and so that kind of translates over into the offer as well, right? If you go to the next slide here, Ron, I'm kind of looking at the time here so that we also give folks some 5-7 minutes to ask any questions if there are any. So what are the some of the patterns that we are seeing customers adopt here? And I'll say we already have close to a dozen or so customers that are. So this service was announced in September. The first region came up in December, by the way. And we already have somewhere around a dozen customers kind of in different phases, right? A couple of customers are, let's say, kicking the tire, so to speak, but there are about half a dozen to close to a dozen customers that are running pilot to prod here, right? So already starting to migrate some of their applications. So within that, what are some of the patterns, right? And so, of course, one pattern, or the most common, is what you see on the left side, which is enterprise applications, right? These are, again, think about some large customers, one of the largest, let's say, car manufacturer in the US, or one of the largest, let's say, beverage companies in the US. And all of these have Azure as their preferred cloud provider, but also has a large Oracle investments, right? And so this has suddenly unlocked their migration path, right? There are Modernize and Innovate is another kind of pattern here. So we are talking to a couple of fairly large customers that, as I said earlier, have continue to run, let's say, Oracle databases or Oracle workloads inside of Azure. But now with this offering, they now have the option to use a managed service like Exadata Cloud Service, right? So it reduces some of the overheads that they have to manage Oracle databases on Azure IaaS. So from that standpoint, just moving their infrastructure Oracle databases to a managed service, they're sort of modernizing that way, right? And I think it was, Brainy who talked about cloud native development. This sort of moves in that direction, if you will. So today it is only Exadata Cloud Service, but if folks are familiar with the autonomous databases are fully managed Oracle database service, right? And today it is, again, only available in OCI or Oracle Cloud. in another month and a half, it would be available in Azure as well. So now think about, again, when you think about modernize and innovate, you can really use all of the Azure native DevOps, let's say, capabilities, right? And which are fairly strong, and yet kind of connect those or marry those with the Oracle managed database service, right? And now you're really developing some modern cloud native apps that way. And then, of course, analytics kind of remains some of the patterns here. As I said, one of the, uh, you know, the the beverage manufacturing company that I talked about, they are investing or they are investing fairly heavily on AI, right? And they are all, of course, doing all of that on Azure. And so this now enables them to bring their data into Microsoft or into Azure and now really tap into their enterprise data that otherwise was locked away on-prem into their Exadata box, as an example, right? And so suddenly you have this data analytics AI pattern that that customers are enabled. So very quickly, I think I mentioned that there already is integration in place where Exadata metrics are sort of flowing back into Azure, right? So again, think about it this way: is if you use multiple clouds, you end up creating, if you will, different panes of glasses, right? To go take a look at how are your application stacks doing. And again, this kind of, we are trying to make that easier and easier for customers. So all of the Exadata, let's say, logs and all of that already flows into Azure. There is work happening to push some of the database logs into Azure as well. So then everything is in a single place, right? You may not even need to do a swivel chair and go into your OCI console for some of the database operations. So uh, again, kind of the idea is simplify operations, get everything into a single place. If customers prefer Azure, then they go use Azure overall. I don't have a slide for collaborative support, but again, collaborative support has been in place since 2019, right? Because as I said, we have customers that are running or using these two clouds already, and we have had this collaborative support process for the last 4 years now. It just extends with Oracle Database at Azure, right? And so again, the idea is customers have a one throat to choke. You are not going pillar to post, so to speak, trying to figure out your application support challenges, right? If you prefer to work with Microsoft, you're open to, or use Microsoft as your preferred, let's say, support partner, so to speak, and they will internally work with Oracle if there are, let's say, potential issues with the database service itself, as an example, right? So again, it kind of builds into the whole simplify your operations talking point. All right, so I think this was kind of the last slide here overall. As I said earlier, I think just as a quick revision, so this enables you to take advantage of your Microsoft Azure consumption commitment, right? MACC as it is called. So you can tap into those pools to go run Oracle database on Azure. You are able to use BYOL, so bring your own license. Oracle has always supported that, and so you're able to use that BYOL concept, or if you have EULAs with Oracle, unlimited license agreements, or even PULAs, for example, you are able to tap into those benefits. And then the last one I talked about, the support rewards as well. So I'm going to pause here. One last thing I was going to say. So today it is available in one region in the US, which is US East. Having said that, just earlier today, there was a press release. You might have seen some activity on LinkedIn as well. There are a bunch of posts, both from Microsoft and from Oracle. So the Germany Frankfurt region went live today, early morning, if you will. So that's kind of the second region, if you will, of course, though it is in Europe. And then along with that, we announced 5 additional regions on the roadmap, right? So now the roadmap has somewhere around 14 or 15 regions. There will be in North America, in addition to US East, which is already live. What is on the roadmap is US West is on the roadmap. US Central is on the roadmap. US South Central is on the roadmap. And then Canada Central is on the roadmap, right? And then we are jointly tracking quite a few other, let's say, customers or signals for other additional regions, right? And so that's where the companies are kind of reacting. That's why we announced 5 new regions, or at least on the roadmap. earlier today. So some of those are actually one of them is in India, one of them is in Australia, another region in the Middle East, a region in South America. So again, we are seeing a lot of signals, a lot of demand for this particular offer here. So I'm going to pause. If there are questions, happy to go through.